Hi everyone, it's Kristie here with another video for Two Scrapbook Friends. I recently took a pizza dough and pasta dough making class with some friends, and I remembered that I had this Food Truck Frenzy collection pack in my stash. So if you have this in your stash or you want to grab it from Two Scrapbook Friends, it's a great collection that celebrates all kinds of foodie things, pizza being one of them. So on one side of the sheets of paper, you get this, overlay of whatever the food is. There's one for hot dogs, hamburgers, tacos. So we have, and then the word pizza. And then on the other side, you get these great cut aparts. So I was able to cut apart some of the focal points. So this like restaurant style sign, fresh pizza, and then hot pepperoni pizza. I was able to cut these out of this piece of the scrapbooking paper, the 12 by 12 paper. And then I used this piece, which is 8.5 by 8.5, to create an envelope for my A2 card using the We Are Memory Keepers punch board. So a great way to use your 12 by 12 paper that has cut aparts on one side. You can cut your 8.5 by 8.5 paper so you preserve the cut apart piece, and then you still have enough left over to make your envelope. So we'll make the envelope at the end of this video. You can see I've already cut it and scored it, but we'll put it together at the end for our finished card. So I did have two cut aparts. Again, this restaurant style sign and then the hot pepperoni pizza sign. And I thought this would be a great way to do some ink blending. I haven't ink blended in a while, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So I thought, you know what, let's take a look at the Distress Oxide collection, see what colors might work well with these cut aparts, and create a couple of cards that I can send to the friends that I took the class with because we really had a fun time, lots of laughs, and I thought it would be a great way to remember that time together. So I'm going to set these cut aparts aside. As I was looking at the different colors of Distress Oxides, I came up with two different combos. So for this one, and this is the one I'm going to work through with you on the video today, we've got Aged Mahogany, Fired Brick, and Fossilized Amber. So that's the colors we're going to be blending together. And then on the other one, I used Fossilized Amber, Shabby Shutters, and Evergreen Bough. So you can see that blend there. Both of these blends are really great if you haven't blended with Distress Oxides before. I really highly recommend grabbing a few colors that you like and trying it out because they blend wonderfully. They're very forgiving and really easy to get a nice soft blend in your projects. Now, as you can see, I didn't leave the paper plain. I embossed it with this great 3D embossing folder that I just got in my collection. It's from Honeybee Stamps, and it is called Clover Petals. So it's coming out to celebrate all things clover and luck for St. Patrick's Day, but I think it's just a great detailed all-purpose background. So, even though you can see something might be marketed for a specific holiday or occasion like St. Patrick's Day that we might not be using a lot of crafting things for, you can use this on absolutely any card. It's a great detailed background, and look at the dimension that you get in that great 3D embossing folder. Now, I have a Big Shot machine. I find when running this embossing folder through the Big Shot, I just needed one, like the standard Big Shot plate set, and then one cutting plate, and then I ran it right through. Worked great. So with the 3D embossing folders, you might have to try a couple times in your machine. I would recommend trying that on scrap cardstock so that you don't impact your ink blended panel or a specialty cardstock that you have. And then if you need to, just mark, top on the top of the embossing folder, because with these 3D ones, the deboss side looks quite a bit different. And sometimes you might want to use that. So just mark top if that makes it easier in your crafty workflow. So let's get rolling here with our ink blending. So I've got a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White in the 110 pound weight cardstock. and I'm going to set my, I've got a sheet of craft paper and A2 card bases. These are the A2 card bases that Two Scrapbook Friends has from Tailored Expressions. They are great heavyweight cardstock, a great way to build up your stash of card fronts by getting those packages. So highly recommend those. And again, a sheet of craft cardstock that we'll use on our card panel at the end. So I am going to get started with the aged mahogany, and I just realized I forgot to get out my ink stand. So just give me 1 second to grab that from the other side of my craft desk, and I'll be right back with you. All right, here we go. The inkstand has been located. It is a great tool to have on your craft desk when you are ink blending. Just helps to keep that ink pad secure, and it's not moving all around on, like in my case, the glass media mat. Okay, so I've got my blender brush from Tailored Expressions, inking that up with that juicy aged mahogany ink, and I'm gonna go right direct to paper. And again, this is the Neenah Classic Crest 110 pound weight cardstock. So we're gonna get that aged mahogany loaded up quite a bit on our card panel here. Now, again, if ink blending is new to you, some things that I'll share with you that I've learned along the way that really help and make a difference in your ink blending. First is the paper. You don't want to be ink blending on, lightweight cardstock or cardstock that isn't smooth. So the Neenah Classic Crest 80 pound or 110 pound is great. Hammermill paper is great. Bristol Smooth, Vicky Bouton Foundations paper. These are all heavyweight cardstocks that are going to give you a great smooth surface to ink blend on. The Gina K line of cardstock is also a great one, and you can ink blend on her colored cardstock as well. So then once you've got a good paper, you want to have a blending tool. Now, blending tool, a lot of personal preference here. I really like the blending brushes. I started out ink blending with the Tim Holtz Ranger dome. Actually, they didn't have the domes then. They were just the little sponge circles. I'm aging myself in the crafting world here. But they really do, they work great. And I think the dome ones, people really like those. These brushes I just find so versatile and easy to do, heavy hand, light hand, really great for doing different types of techniques. So moving on to Fired Brick. That's the second Distress Oxide we're going to blend in here. And so this is actually a good example. If you saw there, when I came in from the top, I had a couple of really harsh lines. Using these Distress Oxides and this tool, the blending brush, as well as this good quality paper, I can buff those harsh lines right out so you don't even see them anymore, which is really great. And I think, when you start ink blending, you might get frustrated because you're getting harsh lines. Maybe you're using inks that don't blend really well, or a different type of tool, or your paper isn't smooth enough. So you really have to play around with it and use what works for you. But you can see in very little time, with very little effort, how seamless that blend from aged mahogany to the Fired Brick looks. And I used the same blending brush. I didn't switch, I didn't clean it off, nothing, because we're still in that red family. So I just love them. I think they're a great investment into your craft room. Now I do have 2 sets of these. I have one that I use for my oxide inks like we're using here today. And I have another set that I use for dye inks, just because the ink properties are different between those 2 types of inks. I like to have a different set for the dye inks. So I'm just bringing in a baby wipe here, cleaning off my work surface so I can flip this paper around, and then we're going to come in with our final color, which is the fossilized amber. So I am going to grab a different blending brush for this, and I'm going to grab a little Post-it note. I can see I've got a little bit of fluff there. Just going to get that off the card front. Perfect. But I'm going to bring a Post-it note in because, again, if you're new to the Distress Oxides, they stay wet longer than dye inks, and I don't want to get my fingertips onto our project here. So let's go in with the fossilized amber. Going to come in from the bottom with a bit of a heavier hand here so we get that nice and saturated, and then a bit more of a lighter hand as I come up and blend into the fired brick. So this is looking really good. Love these colors together. The oxides really make ink blending so much fun. And of course, because of the oxide properties and that dye pigment fusion in the ink, you can do so many techniques with these. You can spray them with water and they react. You could use perfect pearls on top of them, all kinds of different things that really make our crafting life a lot of fun. So I am actually going to leave it there. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to set it aside, give the media mat another quick wipe here, and let's close up our inks. So I really just wanted to show you how to create those ink blended panels. You can use any of the colors that you like. And again, if oxides are new to you, highly recommend getting a few colors that go together on the color wheel and trying out some ink blending. So that is the ink blended panel. I will show you again the finished panel. And that's after running it through that Clover Petals embossing folder. So you can see here, like, this panel is great enough on your card, right? Like if we were just going to go with this panel here that we just ink blended, lay this on top, pop that in your card front, that's a great card. But look at the detail you get on that embossed panel. I just love how they add that detail with really not too much effort at all. So I'm going to set this panel aside. I'll use that on another card project later on. So let's start putting these cards together. We've got, again, our A2 panels from Tailored Expressions. I'm going to pop on a piece of craft cardstock that is cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's the standard A2 size card, so it's going to go exactly right on our card front. And I'm going to glue up the other one as well, so we can do both at the same time. Get a little assembly line going here for our two cards. Just going to get my blending brushes out of the way a little more. So we've got this craft panel right on flush with all the edges, and we'll do the same with this one. Normally I like to have my MISTI or my scoreboard out so that I can tuck the corners right in so I know I've got it perfectly straight, but these ones actually went on really easily, so that's great. The glue that I'm using is the, you know what? I actually can't remember which one I have in here, but it's either the Lawn Fawn liquid glue or the Gina K Connect glue. And I apologize. I actually can't remember which one I refilled this with. But in any case, both of those glues are great. They both dry clear. They are super strong and heavy duty adhesives that hold up great in the mail. So I highly recommend both of those adhesives. They come in a longer, like a small tube, like a glue pen, but I like to put them in these fine tip bottles, which you can get from Two Scrapbook Friends. They're either available from Gina K Designs, or I think these ones might be from Lavinia Stamps, and they usually come in a pack of 2 or 3. So you get a couple and they are great. So they really allow you to get a lot of precision as you're gluing things down. So I'm going to glue down both of these panels, and I'm using a little bit more adhesive than I probably normally would, just because you can see the 3D dimension in these panels, right? So I want to make sure I'm getting enough glue on the pieces that are going to connect with that craft paper so that everything stays connected. So I'm going to bring in my secret weapon ruler here and come in. How did I cut these? What do we got here? So I want to come in 1/4 inch from the top, bottom, and left-hand side of our card here. And on this one, I want the fossilized amber at the top. So, oh, you know what? Actually, it's 1/8 of an inch. You know what? I cut this card panel incorrectly. So I'm just actually going to have to eyeball this one because I think I made a mistake in cutting it. So here you go. If you find yourself in this situation where you didn't cut your card panel properly and you've already got adhesive on the back of it, I'm going to line it up with the left top and right side, and then I'm just going to cut 1/8 of an inch off the whole darn thing. So I'll bring in my paper trimmer after and cut 1/8 of an inch off the bottom of the card there, and then we will have an even card border all around. Oh geez, sorry about that, but there you go. Things don't always work out. Oh, and did you see I this is turning into a hot mess. I forgot I put the glue on. Oh dear. Just give me a second here to wipe off the the glue. You know, everyone, it it doesn't take long sometimes for the wheels to fall off in the craft room. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that, everyone. So let's see if I cut this card panel right. You know, in the spirit of this video, I didn't. So we'll go in again here at 1/8 of an inch from the top and the left, and we'll sort out the rest after. Oh my goodness. Is it a full moon? Anybody know? Is that what? Can I blame it on that, or just my inability to cut things properly? Oy, probably the latter. Okay, so we have got our ink blended panels down onto our card fronts, and we need to do a little surgery on these cards. So I'm going to bring in the heavy duty machinery of the Tim Holtz paper trimmer, and I can see I need to cut about 1/8 of an inch off of this card project. So I'm just sliding that down 1/8 of an inch. Gonna go with a cut. And there we go. So that's great for that one. And we're gonna do the same for the next one. Here we go. Let's just make sure. All right. So there you go. If you find yourself not cutting your card panels correctly, you can always fix it. There is zero need to start over or try and cut again the panel that had glue on it and all that stuff. So no need to worry. So all right, now we're going to get the final pizza signs onto our cards. So I'm going to get some adhesive on this piece here, and I cut this, well, let's see how I cut it. I guess I shouldn't promise you anything. It should be, my intention was that it is the same length as the ink blended panel, and I think I did not too badly. So let's let that one set up, and then we'll get the red themed one, the red and orange one with the hot pepperoni pizza sign here. Bring that in and get that centered on our card. Center-ish. That looks great. Okay, so now the cards are finished. All that's left is the envelopes. So as I mentioned, the Food Truck Frenzy collection pack comes with 2 pieces of this pizza paper. So I was able to cut the 8.5 by 8.5 piece required for an A2 size envelope. And using the We Are Memory Keepers punch board, I have scored and cut the corner pieces out of the cutout pieces for making the envelope. So I've got one here already made. I am just going to bring back the We Are Memory Keepers punch board. If you don't know about this, on the other side of the punch part of the board is a corner rounder. So you can round the corners of the envelope on the flaps so that you get a really great finished look. So I really love that, that look at the back of the envelope. So really nice to be able to just give it that finishing touch. So there's one envelope done. I'm going to round the corners on the second one just before we put it together here. And normally I like to use score tape to put my envelopes together, but I don't have any of the right width right now for envelopes. So I'm actually just going to use the liquid glue, and it, you know what, it holds up great in the mail. So I would really recommend either score tape or a strong liquid adhesive for your envelope making. So I am just going along these score lines, folding them in using my Teflon bone folder, and you can see this envelope's coming together great. I'm going to put 2 lines of the liquid glue just on the bottom flaps here. I'm going to fold it in, give that a nice press with the bone folder. And then once the card goes in, I can just put the 2 lines of glue on this side and seal it up. Because we are using strong adhesive, and I would say the same thing if we were using score tape, don't put adhesive past like here, like leave these pieces open. That way your recipient can get their letter opener or their fingers into the card project to open it up, because these adhesives are really strong. So there we go. So we have 2 cards celebrating all things pizza. And again, I really think these will be fun for the friends that I took the pizza dough and pasta dough making class with. It was a lot of fun. So and again, these custom envelopes really add a nice punch when people get things in the mail. So I really like to do that. So hopefully you were able to see some great techniques for your ink blending and then embossing with an embossing panel over top of that. You definitely learned what not to do in cutting your card panels, but also saw how to fix it when things go wrong on the fly. So thank you so much for joining. If you have a moment, please subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified when we post new videos. I hope you're all doing well, and we will see you next time.